Welcome to the USA Hockey Next Gen podcast, where the future of the game takes center ice. Join us as we spotlight rising stars, innovative programs, and the voices shaping tomorrow's hockey community. From first strides to big dreams, this is where the next generation begins.
Welcome, everyone, to the 2026 Chipotle Girls National Championship Selection Show.
We're super excited today to announce the official brackets for both the girls Tier 1 tournament as well as the Tier 2 tournament. And Drew, with us today is the one and only Kristen Saegert from USA Hockey. She is the expert in all things girls hockey across the entire country. Nobody knows it better than you do, Kristen. Thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really looking forward to announcing these amazing and competitive tournaments.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's kick it off right out of the gate. Tier 1, 14U, and we're going to start with our USA pool. So at the number 1 seed, we have the Minnesota Lakers. They are going to be matched up with the number 9 Little Caesars. And then the number 8 Dallas Stars Elite are going to be up against number 16 Mid-Fairfield Connecticut Stars.
Now let's take a look at the Olympic pool matchups. Starting with the number 2 overall seed, the Minnesota Green Giants are going to be playing the number 10 ranked LA Lions. And then we have the Chicago Mission, who are the number 7 ranked seed, playing the 15 ranked Skinny Atlas Lakers.
Then we have the NHL pool. So starting that one off is the number 3 Fox Motors out of Michigan going up against the number 11 Pittsburgh Penguins Elite. And then the number 6 East Coast Wizards going up against the number 14 St. Louis Lady Blues.
And finally, for the 14U Liberty pool, we have the number 4 ranked Philadelphia Junior Flyers are going to be competing against the number 12 ranked Team North Dakota. And our 5th overall seed, the Boston Junior Eagles, are going to be taking on the 13 ranked Carolina Junior Hurricanes. Now, you're an expert in this space. Tell us what we can expect to see from this division.
Yeah, the 14U tournament is always really competitive with really strong Minnesota teams coming in. But this year, I think the team to watch is Fox Motors. Fox Motors comes in with a 1-0 win over the at-large team, Little Caesars, and they've won against a lot of teams in this tournament this year. They beat Pittsburgh Pens Elite a few times, who are in their pool for that first matchup. They haven't played the East Coast Wizards this season, so we'll see what that looks like. But I think Fox Motors has a chance to show those Minnesota teams what Michigan is all about. And then we got an upset. St. Louis. St. Louis is in this tournament because they beat the Mission in the Central District tournament. So they beat them 1-0 and then also beat the Madison Capitals to get into the tournament. So that's an exciting bid for the St. Louis Lady Blues to be in this 14U Tier 1 tournament this year.
Well, and I think it's just a testament to it could be anybody's game at any time. And that's what's fun about the tournament. It's great that you have the at-large bids. So teams that had a great season still have the opportunity to get in if they didn't win their state or their district championships. But I love that that's what hockey's all about. And that's the parity we want. And Kristen, for you and I, it wasn't necessarily like that back in the day with girls hockey, and especially at this level. So to see how competitive all these teams are, it's really cool.
Yeah. And we definitely see the growth of the game with the Carolina Junior Hurricanes coming in. Historically, the Washington Pride have won out at the Southeast District Tournament at all levels. And this year, Carolina Junior Hurricanes come in winning that district tournament at all 3 levels, showing the growth of the game in that area as well.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's move on to the 16U Tier 1 USA pool. And in the first seed there are the Boston Americans going up against the number 9 Connecticut Polar Bears. And then you have the number 8 Minnesota Blue going up against the number 16, again, Carolina Junior Hurricanes representing North Carolina.
And for the Olympic pool matchups, we have the number 2 ranked Shattuck-St. Mary's versus the number 10 ranked Rochester Youth BK Selects. And then we have our 7 ranked East Coast Wizards taking on the number 15 ranked Team Alaska. Now, Shattuck-St. Mary's has been a powerhouse for a long time. Before we do anything else, let's flip this over to a quick interview with one of their coaches, Ellie Doherty.
Ellie, thank you so much for coming on the show. Congratulations on making it to the national tournament. Just want to kick it off by asking you about the identity of your team. What can we expect to see from your Shattuck girls as they go into nationals?
Sure. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think that a big part of Shattuck hockey is like leaving a legacy, leaving this place better than you found it. So I think a lot of our girls feel that there's the pressure is a privilege type of mentality, and so getting to play for your school and represent your family is something that I think they're really looking forward to. So I hope we play with a lot of heart.
Ellie, you guys have been playing some great hockey as a team as of late. But if you had to tell me, what do you think the biggest improvement your team has made so far since the beginning of training camp has been?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think we've come a long way as a team. We're pretty young. I think playing hockey the right way, playing within the context of the actual game and relying on your teammates. I think that there's certainly a lot of skill that we've had, but inserting that skill into the right moment in the game is that takes time to learn. That takes competitive repetition. So I would say learning the context of the game and when to insert my skill and when to play a certain style of hockey throughout the season. You go through ups and downs, and you have injuries and whatnot, so you have to fill different roles. And so I would say that like just the overall competitive repetitions that we've gotten throughout the season, I think has made us a stronger team and kids buying into playing Shattuck hockey.
Shattuck is no stranger to playing in the national tournament. But what are you doing to mentally prepare your team for being on that stage and I think just leaving that legacy like you talked about?
I mean, it's something that we talk about all year with, like, again, back to the comment I said about like pressure is a privilege, and getting to wear the Shattuck jersey comes with a little bit of a bullseye where people really you're gonna get everyone's A game. And so there's always a interview I go back to with Serena Williams where she talked about how it's like she always had to play her best because she knew she was going to get everyone else's best, and that's what made her so good. And so I kind of give that a little bit as a reference early on in the year, that you are going to get everyone's A game because everyone wants to beat you. And so you need to be prepared and you need to be at your best. But I think with the Olympics just ending and USA Hockey having just an unbelievable showing, I think is a great segue for us to be able to watch that and watch how well those players did, specifically our girls, watching the women and seeing how like their years of preparation paid off, and getting to see them excel at the world stage is really cool. So I would say that was like a big segue for us to be able to kind of talk through some of those talking points of watching them succeed.
Yeah, it was so cool watching what the women were able to accomplish. And you guys have had a great year so far. I'm sure you're going to have a great tournament. We're wishing you guys best of luck. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
All right, great hearing from Ellie about her squad over there at Shattuck. And let's continue now with the NHL pool. First up, we have the number 3 ranked seed, the Chicago Mission, going up against the number 11 Little Caesars. That'll be a good matchup. And then we have the number 6 Minnesota Silver versus the number 14 Team Colorado.
Wrapping up the 16U with the Liberty pool, we have the 4th ranked Philadelphia Junior Flyers taking on the 12th ranked Culver Academies, and the number 5 ranked Lowville Academy Lions versus the 13th ranked Team North Dakota. Now, Kristen, something that stands out to me is so many of these girls are growing up having success in hockey from non-traditional markets. Now, with the success our women's team just had over in Milan, do you think this will just continue to expand?
Yeah, I do. I think the success in Milan is just going to provide an extra bump, not only for membership and growth of the game, but for more visibility and opportunities in areas that already have strong girls programs. I think it's just going to help show the strength of, the different things that we already have set up in our structure to make girls successful in the sport. And seeing more teams coming in this tournament and the variation in teams across the country, I think has been really good for that.
Kristen, one of the questions that I have, and I think a lot of parents that are not familiar with Minnesota hockey have, is, there's all these different, like Minnesota Silver, Minnesota Blue, Minnesota Green. Can you just touch on that? Like, what are all of these Minnesota teams, and what is the makeup of those teams?
Yeah, so Minnesota hockey has a very strong high school model where the kids play in their winter season for their high schools. And so Minnesota hockey has implemented a fall league for these players from a group of high schools. So they're districted by their actual high school team. So a set names of certain high schools are on the blue team, and a set high schools are on the Vegas team, so on and so forth. And so the girls play on those teams in the fall. And so they just get extra time getting to play against the other tier 1 teams before their federation high school season starts. So in some ways, you're going to see they're really competitive, especially as we get to the 19U group, what those rosters look like. But yeah, the Minnesota model is a split season model so that they can maintain that community-based, high school-based winter season model.
Excellent. All right. Well, that wraps up the 16 U's for Tier 1. Now let's move on to the 19 U's. Starting with the USA pool, you have the number 1 ranked. You just mentioned this group, the Tradition Vegas, which is a little confusing, but they are out of Minnesota, and they are going to be going up against the number 9 East Coast Wizards. Then you have number 8, the Pittsburgh Penguins Elite, going up against Team Colorado, who are at number 16.
And for the Olympic pool matchups, we have the number 2 ranked Shattuck-St. Mary's versus the number 10 ranked Connecticut Polar Bears. And the 7th overall Massachusetts Spitfires are going to be taking on the 15 ranked Anaheim Lady Ducks.
Now, shifting over to the NHL pool, you have the number 3 Rochester Youth BK Selects out of New York going up against the number 11 North American Hockey Academy, also known as NAHA. Then you have number 6, Chicago Mission, going up against yet another Carolina Junior Hurricanes team at number 14. Before we move on to the final pool, let's hear briefly from the coach at BK Selects, Coach Cari Coen, for a brief interview.
Well, Cari, we are super excited to have you on here. Congratulations on your BK Selects making it to the national tournament. We just want to first start off, tell us a little bit about your team and just the identity of your team as you get ready to go to nationals.
Yeah, so Cari Coen from BK Selects, like you introduced. A little bit about our team. Tenacious, hardworking, and pretty speedy.
Cari, you guys have had a great season so far. What do you think the biggest improvements your team has made since the start of the season?
Yeah, I would say being connected 200 feet of the ice, being able to play at high speeds, but also being able to play that 200-foot game from defensive zone into the offensive zone, creating a lot of goal-scoring chances.
It's obviously a long season. What do you think has been the biggest change for you guys, the biggest improvement from the beginning of your season to where you're at now, trying to peak for the national tournament?
Yeah, I would say our development from the individual to the whole team. A lot of kids put a lot of time into their strength and conditioning, injury prevention, and then their skills. So it's been super rewarding and exciting to see all the extra work that they put in daily to help their team out.
Cari, all your players have worked very hard this year. This is going to be the most intense hockey you guys have ever played. How are you preparing your players for this upcoming tournament?
Yeah, so pressure's a privilege. These girls, we try and put them in those situations every day in practice, but any showcase or tournament they play in. So they're preparing every day since the first day of this season when we played at Labor Day tournament. So obviously there's a lot of adversity that with highs and lows in a hockey game. So them playing against the best here, we're super excited to see them play and be empowered and just have a lot of fun.
Cari, you guys have pumped out some incredible hockey players over the years, but who should be watched this tournament? Who are you really leaning on to kind of lead the way for you guys?
Yeah, so specifically from USA, I would say Addie Tremmel and Chloe Brinson, and then on the defensive side, I would say Gigi Martin, and then Sophia Gardner with our forward side. Non-U.S. player would be Nella Lupasanova, very skilled, high offensive player that plays 200-foot game. So we're excited for all of them. So we're excited to see where the game goes.
Congratulations on your selection. We're going to be cheering for you guys, and good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
And for the girls 19U Liberty pool, we have the number 4 ranked Assabet Valley taking on the number 12 ranked Little Caesars and the number 5 ranked Mid Fairfield Connecticut Stars taking on the 13th-ranked Philadelphia Junior Flyers. Now, Kristen, another question I have for you, and Lyndsey and I have talked a lot about this, is just the rise of the PWHL and just how that's impacted. When she was growing up, she didn't really have a lot of professional women because that opportunity wasn't there. And now it just seems like with the growth of the game, especially at the professional level, the skill level of some of these young girls is just exploded.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, I think that the visibility of the PWHL, the access to their games, and then the continued opportunity for our women's players to play after collegiate hockey is only allowing them to be in the game longer and further develop. But I do think that the style of play and our American development model really promotes not just skill, but skill combined with decision making and awareness and vision in a way that allows our teams to be fast and kind of sneaky. And displaying that. We saw that at the Olympics. We saw that at, the U18 women's national team under 18 tournament that we played in Nova Scotia. And you see it in the traditional markets. I mean, if you look across the top, right, we have 2 Minnesota teams, a New York team, and a Massachusetts team. Like those are PWHL markets. But these programs are powerhouse programs. When you come to the U19 level, it's going to be really hard to pick who's going to win this tournament, right? I think you've got BK, or the returning champs out of BK Selects. They have 19 Division I college commits on their team.
Is that good?
I just kind of.
Oh
no big
goodness.
deal, right, Lyndsey?
Jeez.
Do you have those on yours?
I got one.
There we go, right? Some disparity across the country in that, but that is amazing for that program. But then you look at Tradition Vegas, and they have 7 players from our gold medal winning U18 national team. Right. So then you have Shattuck. They have 4. Assipet has 3. But you can't count out someone like Pittsburgh Pens Elite, who have our gold medal winning goalie, Bianca Birateri. They've shut down several teams in this tournament this year, and she's very good. So this is a tournament to always watch because there will be upsets, and it'll be a great tournament to watch.
Fantastic. All right. Well, that wraps up the Tier 1 girls selections. So congratulations to all of those teams for making it through to the national tournament. And before we continue revealing the girls Chipotle-USA Hockey Nationals pool selections, let's take a moment to hear from our sponsor, Chipotle.
Chicken Al Pastor is back at Chipotle, where fire meets flavor, where heat meets pineapple sweet, where chicken meets the sizzle of the grill, and where fans meet their favorite. Chicken Al Pastor, where fire meets flavor.
All right, welcome back, everybody. As we continue our girls selection show, we are going to move on to the Tier 2 side of the girls tournament, and we're going to start with our 14Us, specifically the 2A division. So for the USA pool for 2A, we have the Minnesota Prospects Lakers, the Seattle Redhawks, the Charles River out of Massachusetts, and then the WEHL Southeast out of Wisconsin.
Here are the teams competing in the 2A Olympic pool. We have the Canton Blades, the North Shore Warhawks, the Philadelphia Little Flyers, and Mid-Fairfield Connecticut Stars.
And next up, we have the NHL pool, starting with the Steel City Selects out of Pennsylvania, the East Coast Wizards, the St. James Hockey Club out of Virginia, and St. Jude out of Illinois.
And now for the girls competing in the 2A Liberty pool, we have the Minnesota Prospect Polars, the Philadelphia Junior Flyers, the Utah Lady Grizzlies, and the Middlesex Islanders. Now, Kristen, tell us a little bit about what we can expect from this division.
Yeah, the 2A pool is interesting. You have the 2 teams that were in the championship game last year, St. James and Philadelphia Junior Flyers, have moved from the 1A division up to the 2A tournament. So they've moved up. I think they're both very good teams this year. They'll be very competitive in this 2A tournament. But even the Junior Flyers have to watch their backs a little bit. The Philadelphia Little Flyers got in as an at-large. They lost 4-3 in overtime to the Junior Flyers in their district tournament. So I think that's a matchup to watch, but also St. James and Steel City. Can never count Steel City out in a Tier 2 national tournament. They have always been competitive, so that's another game to watch.
Now, something I've talked about, I know, well, we have one coach here.
Like you've got this smile on your face.
Sometimes this
I'm
can
stressed.
be a long layoff, like 3 weeks. What should these coaches be doing with their teams if the last game they played was 3 weeks ago? How would you guys be preparing your team for the biggest tournament of the year, but you might not have a game for 3 weeks?
well, you better schedule a game somewhere in there, is what I would say. If you're not, then you're definitely missing out, because it's hard to replicate that competition. But I recognize, some of these markets, it's definitely harder to get those games in, but I think it's super important. And I don't know, my opinion is the team you had at districts or at your state championship is probably the team that you're going to be taking to nationals. You're really just tweaking and refining at that point. And I really think it's more about like mentally getting them ready. One of the hardest things for me last year when my team went to nationals was, we're sharing ice or we're on before or after some of our other teams that didn't make it through. Well, what are they doing at practices in March? Like, they're just, they're having fun. They're having parent player games. And I'm like putting my kids on the line doing like some conditioning stuff just to sharpen the blade a little bit. And that was really hard for them to see everybody else just like kind of messing around and being loose and whatever. And we're still business. We're still working on our power play, blocking shots in practice. And that was a bit of a grind. So mentally, I think was the most important and would be the most important component for me.
So as a former player, you're someone who's you're one of those coaches who forces players to block shots in practice.
Oh my, are you kidding? I shoot the pucks, but I don't shoot the real ones. I get the little plastic ones. They're soft. Kristen's seen them.
I've been to her practices. She uses real pucks. Sometimes.
On occasion.
On occasion.
On occasion. But no, I mean, we're like, I do it as a training exercise because I think shot blocking is a skill. And I have 2 girls on my team that have it. And the rest of them, they do the thing where they line up with the body, not the puck. And that's a problem. So yes, we will continue. Why don't you and we'll do a whole episode on shot blocking.
Well, I'm sitting here podcasting because I didn't block more shots. So I probably should have blocked some more shots. So maybe we can go out there and
there you go.
Run that
It's
exercise.
some extra reps.
There you go.
Yeah, that's perfect.
There you go. Okay, well, let's continue on here, guys, with the 14U Tier 2 1A. And we're going to start with the USA pool. Kicking it off, the New Jersey Colonials, followed by Honey Baked, and then finally another Michigan team, the Traverse City North Stars. Next up, we have the Olympic pool. All of course, be watching this one, Kristen. We have our Seacoast Spartans playing out of New Hampshire, Team South Dakota, and then my Arizona Kachinas group. This was a group that, honestly, at the beginning of the year, we didn't know if we were even going to have a team. Like, we had to really like fight and scrap to get this group together. And for them to be going to the national tournament is just like such an unbelievable thing. So really looking forward to watching that group compete on the national stage.
Sounds like that program has great coaches.
They do. And a great hockey director that leads that team. So
all right, I like it. I'll be cheering for them. Now, for the teams competing in the 1A NHL pool, we have the Las Vegas Storm, the Montana Wolves, Topkins from New York. And for the 1A Liberty pool, we have the Cleveland Lady Barons, Big B Coffee from Michigan, and the Nashville Junior Predators. Now, we had the opportunity to interview a lot of cool coaches today, but I don't know if anyone brought more energy to our show than Mindy French of the Cleveland Lady Barons. So I'm going to be cheering for her. And before we move forward, let's flip over to a quick interview with her.
Mindy, it is great to see you. Congratulations on your team making it to the national tournament. Really excited to see you guys there. Just tell us a little bit about what we can expect. What's the identity of your team that's going?
Well, the identity is high energy. Positive energy. This has been a goal for us all year to get here. We are the first ever team in Cleveland Lady Barons history to go. Very proud coach to go with this team. So this has been a very, very exciting for us to be able to end up being here. So, and you can expect a lot of energy from this team.
Mindy, you guys have been playing great hockey as of late. When you look back on your season, what do you think your guys' biggest improvement has been since the start of the year?
I think just overall teamwork. We have a great defense, so just working overall with everybody, the positive attitude. We've from the get-go, we've always said we were like a family, and that's how we treat this team. And so it's just been, that's worked for us, I think.
Mindy, there are some teams around the country where they are fortunate enough to go to nationals year over year. They're used to it. Like you just said, this is very new for your girls and for your program. So what are you doing to mentally prepare these kids to perform on the national stage?
Just keep that positive energy. This, like I said, this has been a great goal for them all year. They've wanted it. They pushed it. This group especially is a special group. They've been together for 3 years, growing up for the 10Us coming up, a lot of them. So it's just good to see that going. So what we've been doing is just, practicing, doing what we do best and getting some games in as well. Some scrimmages against some other girls teams, especially Gilmore, who's going to the national championship as well. So they're trying to help us out as well.
Mindy, I can see where your players get all that positive energy from. This has been fun. We're going to be cheering for you, and good luck in the tournament.
Thank you so much. We look forward to it.
Well, I love it. So happy for Mindy and her team, and the fact that it's the first Cleveland Lady Barons team ever to go to nationals. Mindy was a former coach in the Arizona Cachinas program. I've known Mindy since I was a little kid and played in the women's league because my mom was playing and they let me play. And Mindy was in there too. You probably have known Mindy for a long time. So yeah, just the way she continues to bring the energy after all these years is really incredible. But Kristen, for you, looking at this 1A division, these are some teams that maybe previously haven't had the opportunity to compete at the national tournament. What are you looking at here with this group?
Yeah, we love that we've expanded this Tier 2 tournament to be 28 teams and 2 divisions. It allows an opportunity for this whole extra tournament to be in with, teams like the Las Vegas Storm coming in, right? We've got a newer NHL team in that market, and the growth in that area of girls hockey has been fantastic. And we're excited to see how they're going to do here in the national tournament. And then we talked about player development earlier, and I think that the Nashville Junior Predators program does a fantastic job. Like their hockey director, Callie Singletary, if we asked her what she's doing for the next 3 weeks as these teams prepare, she'll have a plan. And it's going to be very player development oriented, working on the things that those players need to do to feel confident as they get ready for nationals. So always like to give them a shout
Teaching
out.
her players to play with the puck, not turn it over and block shots. Okay, perfect.
Right.
I like
Take
her.
that note.
I like her.
Take that note.
I'll let you two argue about
And
that.
back to your question about what are these teams doing to prepare. So we actually have 2 of these teams that are going to be playing against each other to get ready. The Montana Wolves are coming down this weekend to Arizona, and they're going to be playing against this Arizona Cachinas team, which I'm really excited about. I've done camps up in Montana. A lot of those girls I've known since they were little kids, and now to kind of have the full circle moment of them coming down to Arizona playing against our Cachinas teams is going to be really cool. And I think just those are really the moments that it's all about and why we do what we do. So awesome. Excited to see what happens at the Tier 2 14U divisions for both 1A and 2A. Now let's transition to Tier 2 16U. So we are going to kick it off first with our 2A division in the USA pool. To start off, we have the Minnesota Prospects Polars, followed by the East Coast Wizards, and then Team North Dakota and Alaska All-Stars are in the USA pool. So excited to see all of those teams from all over the country compete together. Then we have the Olympic pool, kicking that off, the Connecticut Polar Bears, the Philadelphia Little Flyers, the California Gold Rush, and then the North Shore Warhawks out of Illinois.
And for the teams competing in the 2A NHL pool, we have the Minnesota Prospect Voyagers, the Boston Junior Eagles, Steel City Selects, and the Canton Blades out of New York. And we had the pleasure of interviewing Coach Jim Black from the Steel City Selects. So let's turn it over to him.
Well, welcome to Jim Black from the Steel City Selects to the National Tournament Selection Show. Jim, how's it going?
Fantastic today. Thank you.
Fantastic. So let's just start off. We want to hear about your team. What's the identity? What do you guys think you're going to be bringing to the national tournament?
So we've had a great season so far. Really, the team is built around work ethic. The girls have trained. We started back the beginning of August. The girls actually had a boot camp to start out our season, and they have worked extremely hard the entire season. And I really think their identity, it's about us and how we play the game. So they work extremely hard. They get pucks deep, and again, it's a full 19-player effort, and it's been that way all season long.
Jim, you guys have had an incredible season so far. What do you think the biggest difference your team has made from now since the start of training camp?
I think the biggest thing, like coming into the season, I think it really helped. I coached this team last year. We had a lot of returning players. So I think the learning curve, it was pretty quick. We have quite a few players that were new to the organization. So I think they adapted pretty quick also. And then again, it's been a group that's very, very engaged, and they want to learn, they want to get better. And again, I go back, we have great leadership on the team, and they've all worked extremely hard all season long.
Jim, when you think about your roster, I love that you said it's really a 19 player effort across the board, but who are going to be those couple of players that you really lean on to lead the team at the national tournament?
I think the defensive side, we have Lyndsey Vitodian, we have McKenna Schilling, Aubrey Blinka. Those are returning players from last year. I think that it starts there, and we have really good goaltending. Both goaltenders, Z and Maddie, have split the season pretty evenly. They've all each had opportunities to play in championship games if we played in tournaments. So I think really it starts on the back end. And then on the front end, Kingsley Carper, that again, she's very good defensively and is a fast player. But I think there's again, at any point in time, all the lines need to be clicking. We have a very good young line that they're 13-year-olds that have played extremely well. B. Swanson, again, she's a center. Again, playing well in the defensive zone. So I think really it's going to count on everybody, especially some of the role players are going to need to put some pucks in the net for us.
This is going to be the most competitive, intense hockey you guys have played this year. How are you preparing your players for the intensity that this tournament's going to require?
So again, practices have been very upbeat. We're just working on some final details. We've actually played we've actually scrimmaged our older team, the 16s, to get ready. We've also had some local boys teams that we have that have graciously agreed to scrimmage us. So I think again, playing at a high level, again, because we're going to go against obviously the Minnesotas and the Massachusetts and Connecticut and all those teams that we typically don't see. Canton's another one. We played them early in the season. They have a very talented team, very fast, some really skilled girls. So I think leaning on our organization and also some better teams in the area will help us prepare for the speed.
Well, Jim, we really appreciate you coming on. We're excited to watch you guys at the national tournament, and good luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
That was great talking to Jim. It sounds like his team's going to be ready to roll. Now, for the teams competing in the 2A Liberty pool, we have the Valley Junior Warriors out of Massachusetts, the Fairfield, Connecticut Stars, Team South Dakota, and the Philadelphia Junior Flyers. Now, I don't know a ton about the Valley Junior Warriors program out of Massachusetts. What should we expect to see from them in this tournament?
They're a competitive 14U program. They've been at the national tournament a handful of times over the past few years. It's really hard to get into this tournament out of Massachusetts. The 14, 16, or 19U Tier 2 tournament. The Tier 2 teams in the Massachusetts area historically are 10 deep in competitiveness across the board. So as you see, we've got the East Coast Wizards, the Valley Junior Warriors, and the Boston Junior Eagles all in that top division. And it's anybody's game, right? Like those games were all 1-goal games in their state tournament. It's an East Coast heavy tournament as well, with the Connecticut Polar Bears in there. And really, we've seen a lot of good things out of the Valley Junior Warriors before those kids go on to different prep school teams at 16 and 19 and go to some of those other Tier 1 programs when they're older.
So this might be a silly question, but hopefully you can clarify. And I apologize to our friends in Philadelphia, but what is the difference between Philadelphia Junior Flyers and Philadelphia Little Flyers? Because that it's a little confusing.
Yeah, two different programs.
Completely.
Completely
Wow.
different programs operating out of two completely different rinks.
And not the same branding. They're not both affiliated.
They both utilize the logos associated with the NHL team.
Okay.
But again, out of different buildings and really, really heated rivalry.
I was gonna say, how did those teams play together
Those
here?
teams are.
I was going to ask who's better.
Oh, gee, now you're really putting her on the
I
spot.
don't
Here
know
we
if I
go.
even want to answer that because it could be either one any day, right? I think they are both very good, tight games. No different than 14U, what we saw. So I'm excited to see what they do this year.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's go over to 16U Tier 2 for the 1A division, starting as always with the USA pool. So we have out of Nevada, the Vegas Junior Golden Knights, the Adirondack North Stars from New York, and then the Utah Lady Grizzlies. And before we keep rolling, we have an interview with Rob Johnson, who is the coach of the Utah Lady Grizzlies team, as their director. I think he's on like just about every bench, but we specifically asked him about his 16U Tier 2 team. So let's pass it over to Rob. Rob, thank you so much for hopping on the show. Congratulations on your teams heading to the national tournament. But specifically for the team that you're coaching, I just want to hear a little bit about your team and what we can expect to see out of them on the national stage.
Yeah, well, I coach the 16U Tier 2 AA team. I would say that we have a group of overachievers. And we were in a tight battle at districts and kind of made it through, winning the championship and all of that good stuff. And we're just happy to be going. And you should see strong D zone and some, and we'll try our best and work hard.
Rob, you guys had a huge win in districts. You guys have been playing great as of late. What do you think the biggest improvement you guys have made since the start of the year has been?
Yeah, like I said, I think the D zone, we've kind of came together in that area, but overall, probably just team chemistry and figuring everything out. We have strong leadership on our team, so I think the biggest improvement is probably just the girls coming together and believing in the process, trusting the process, and believing in themselves.
Rob, you guys continue to build your program there with the Lady Grizz. I've seen that firsthand coaching against you, but this is a big deal, going to the national tournament, playing at the highest level. And for you, what are you doing to mentally prepare your girls for this moment?
Well, luckily we have a really strong leadership on our team, led by a girl named Nora McCarty. She's our captain, and she has a strong pulse, I guess, in the locker room, along with a few other girls. So just mentally, it's really not to overwhelm them. I always kind of say like the hay's in the barn, like you guys worked really hard, right? You put in the work, and now, we're going to a big stage, but we really shouldn't. It's kind of just like reassuring them that we don't have to change too much. We just keep trusting the process, keep doing what we're doing, and just mentally get them in a place where they're going. They understand their assignments, and we're going to have fun.
Rob, you guys are peaking at a great time. Lyndsey and I are both excited to watch you guys. Congrats on making the tournament, and we'll be cheering for you.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Well, great chatting with Rob. Like I said, he's on every bench. He coached their 19 Tier 1s. I played against them, I think, 4 or 5 times this year. And what a fun team to compete with as they continue to grow their program. So hats off to Rob and everything he's doing over there. Let's now shift over to the 16U Tier 2 1A Olympic pool, starting with the WEHL Western out of Wisconsin, Honey Baked, and then the Tampa Bay Lightning getting in there from Florida.
And now for the girls competing in the 1A NHL pool, we have the Vermont Junior Catamounts, the Montgomery Ice Devils out of Maryland, and the Dallas Stars Elite. And then for the teams competing in the 1A Liberty pool, we have Little Caesars, Lady Cyclones, and the Gilmore Gladiators. Now, since I was young, I went and played for Honey Baked. a lot of those Michigan teams have dominated on the boys' side. Is it kind of the same thing on the girls' side as well?
Yeah, we see a lot of good teams come out of the Honey Baked program on the Michigan side. They have both Tier 1 and Tier 2. So you'll see teams in both tournaments. And Michigan continues to do great things in player development. And I mean, we just saw Megan Keller and her talent as a Michigan native in the Olympics. And I think we'll continue to see more players coming out of Michigan.
So I'm going to take the high road here. And I'm going to talk about Utah.
Okay, that's good.
Even though it hurts my soul a little bit, but
I feel you.
Yeah, I know. As a fellow Arizonan, you get it.
I get it.
But it's super exciting. I mean, Utah, the Lady Grizz, they took the jump to Tier 1. I mean, my team had a good showing against them at districts, but we had struggled to beat them. They are a tough team to play against. I think they're coached the right way across their program, and it shows. But can you just speak to the growth specifically in Utah on the girls' side? I think that's an area where they've really needed to see some momentum, and at least from what I can tell, it's showing. But you would know the numbers better than I.
Yeah, it's showing. Utah has had the largest year-over-year growth numbers with over 20% growth in females playing in Utah. So
hats off to our friend Kristen Bonus over there with the Mammoth. Love that.
They're doing great things. They just started a girls only league at their brand new practice facility.
Yeah.
They just the 100,000th female player was a Utah player, a 14-year-old that got surprised by Hillary Knight last week.
So cool.
And really, with the NHL market, they already had an infrastructure for growth, and that is just bonus. And then you've got Hillary Knight is in Salt Lake a lot as well. And I think all of those things combined is only going to help them grow. But for me, it's not seeing a Colorado team at the Tier 2 tournament is evident of that growth, right? You've got Utah and Texas. And a lot of times, even when you and I were growing up, Colorado was getting that Rocky Mountain bid every time. There wasn't a chance for the rest of us.
I don't like this. How are we going to get this kind of growth of the game and development back in Colorado on the women's side?
You have a couple of daughters there, Drew, so maybe it's time to put your coaching hat on.
I would love it if they played, but they learned to rollerblade last summer, and they asked my wife who could teach them to rollerblade. So that's what they think of my hockey ability. So I got some work to do there.
Yeah, I was going to say, you better step up your game a little bit. I think that's fantastic, and just so much happening across the country. And I think, again, it's so fun. It's not predictable anymore. And even down to the Tier 2 level across the board, you never know who's going to be there. Yes, there are still the powerhouses, but for the developing markets, it's really anyone's game, and we see that. All right, you guys, let's wrap it up here and go into our final group, our 19U Tier 2 girls, starting with the 2A division and the USA pool. First off, we have Premier Prep Maroon out of Minnesota, the Chicago Hawks out of Illinois, Connecticut Polar Bears, and then the Alaska All-Stars. Next, we have the Olympic pool, starting with the Wisconsin Selects, Steel City Selects out of Pennsylvania, the Mid-Fairfield Connecticut Stars, and then finally the Valley Junior Warriors out of Massachusetts.
And for the teams competing in the 2A NHL pool, we have Badger City, we have the Amherst Lady Knights out of New York, Fairbanks Arctic Lions, and the Boston Americans.
The Liberty 2A pool is going to feature Premier Prep Royal from Minnesota, East Coast Wizards from Massachusetts, Nashville Predators from Tennessee, and Bell Tire from Michigan.
I wrote down Central District is the heavy favorite in this. Not only Illinois, but Wisconsin with 2 teams out of each one. We selected 2 at-larges, 1 Wisconsin and 1 Illinois, because those 2 teams didn't make it to their district tournament out of the state tournament, because that state tournament in both Wisconsin and Illinois was so competitive.
One state that we haven't really talked much about, but I think deserves some credit, is Alaska. On one hand, you just are like, oh, well, they've got ice everywhere and it's cold and just, the stereotypical things when you think of Alaska. But, they don't have the same infrastructure and the same resources as some of, the NHL markets might. But I feel like they have a lot of really passionate people there that keep pushing it forward, and you see that. So maybe just speak to Alaska and that part of the country a little bit.
Yeah, I'm biased to Alaska. I'm their player development manager, so I get to go up there a lot. So I was actually in Fairbanks in January working with their different teams, and just have their team in here and a lot of other Alaska teams in the tournament. their biggest challenge is travel, right?
Yeah.
And so they play a lot locally. They play against each other. They also, play against youth teams. But they've really developed a strong cadence in the Pacific District market, right? They're competitive in the district tournament. They make it here. And Alaskans' love for hockey is real. I mean,
Yeah.
they're some of the nicest people, but they love hockey, and they're doing a lot to grow the game in their smaller markets as well. Like you have Anchorage and Fairbanks where hockey's pretty established. But when you look at Juneau and Kodiak and other places, that's where the growth is really happening in our Alaska markets.
Very cool.
Kristen, no one from USA Hockey told you should probably schedule the Fairbanks, Alaska trip in June or July. You decided to go in January?
It was -40 when I got there. But after a ball, it was beautiful in Juneau. We had like a 30-degree day. Sun was out. Hockey takes place in the winter. True. What am I going to do?
That's true. But there's rinks everywhere now.
I know. I've been lucky to be up there in August and go fishing, and that's been fantastic. But I get to also go up in the winter and wear my extra layers.
See some northern lights, do some cool.
I've seen the northern lights in Fairbanks during their district tournament, and it was amazing.
I bet. I've only seen them once, and it was on a flight home from Minot, North Dakota.
That makes sense.
And, seeing it from a plane, I feel like I was in the northern lights. It was a,
in
but
the
I
sky.
definitely think there's got to be something different about that Alaska air and experiencing it there. So, very cool. Well, congrats to those Alaska teams that are going to be competing. All right, you guys, we are in the final division, girls 19U Tier 2 1A, kicking it off once again with the USA pool.
Is the Adirondack North Stars from New York, then the Philadelphia Junior Flyers from Pennsylvania, and the Coeur d'Alene Thunder from Idaho.
Next, we have the Olympic pool, starting with St. James out of Virginia, followed by Montgomery Ice Devils from Maryland, and then finally the Cincinnati Junior Cyclones.
And for the teams competing in the 1A NHL pool, we have the Mountain Selects from Colorado. There we go. We got a Colorado team.
They got there.
We got the Maine Moose, the Montana Wolves, and then on the other side, the 1A Liberty pool, we have the Malone 46ers, Grand Rapids Griffins, and the Philadelphia Little Flyers. So, Kristen, we finally have a Colorado team in the mix.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't mean to say that Colorado's not doing great things for hockey and for girls hockey. They've just had the infrastructure for so long, and they've been a powerhouse at both, again, the Tier 1 and the Tier 2 level, with Team Colorado getting in at the Tier 1 level. And you'll see different Tier 2 teams. They've won the Tier 2 national championships a couple times. So they're doing a lot of good things. They just have people on their heels trying to, take them down.
That's how it works, right? When you're at the top, someone's always going to be coming after you. And but I do think, and I will keep saying it, and I say it to the parents in our program, like, you want to be nervous at your district tournament. Like, truly, I think when we were playing, and I even as an Arizona girl, I played on the Colorado Select, and it was just, the disparity between teams was massive. And so now to be able, and it's all over the country, to be able to go and not know who's going to come away victorious that's what you want. I mean, I think this year, at least on the Tier 1 side, you had Colorado at 2 divisions, you had Dallas at 1. I think last year it was like 1, 1, and 1. And I think that's just a testament to all of the programs are competing. All of them are pushing the envelope to get better. And it's happening all over the country. So now we just got to, I think, close the gap. We're getting there in the district level.
Yeah.
I think continuing to close the gap across the country, east, west. I would love to just, as we look at this whole thing holistically on the girls' side, where do you think USA Hockey is going as far as just continuing to get the competitiveness across the country to a place where we might see a team out of Colorado win the whole thing at Tier 1?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of it comes down to what the teams are offering. What player development do they offer? What does the coaching look like? What's the ice touches? What's the off-ice program? What's the environment for the players? Is it a positive environment for them? Are they getting better? Because we know a lot of these players develop in these teams that are not winning national championships. And then they go to, some of these powerhouses, and that's, they end up winning the national championships at the older age levels. And a lot of those programs, your Shattuck-St. Mary's, your Bishop Kearney's, they have really good player development models.
Yeah.
Like, they're not selling something that's not real. We see that as people who see those athletes succeed at the top level, both in U18s and in college, in our pro league. But at the same time, I think that our local teams are doing a fantastic job as well. And we don't want that to be missed. There's not something to chase, like by going to other programs, right? Like they can stay at home and still get better, still have exposure for, those college commitments we were talking about. Like those are available to players in all programs because, our college coaches will find you. If you're good enough to play Division I hockey on the women's side, you're going to be found. And, I'd be remiss though. You talked about the disparity in the tournaments at Tier 1. The Montgomery Ice Devils at 19U Tier 2. They went into a 10-round shootout in their semifinal game and lost.
No.
They lost, right? And so that tournament was so close. And because of that, they end up getting an at-large bid because we're like, oh, they're going to be competitive. That's how close that tournament was. And we just see that in these different teams coming in. And I don't know, I think that the growth in the Minnesota, Michigan, Northeast is changing. We already talked about Ohio.
Yeah.
Like Layla Edwards is from Ohio. She's from Cleveland. And the number of Ohio teams you all announced for going to the national tournament this year on the girls' side is fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. They took a lot of those Pittsburgh spots this year. And we look forward to seeing how they do at the tournament.
I have one more question for you. And it's not so much a question. It's more just, I think, an educational comment. I turned you down this year, admittedly, being on the at-large committee, trying to figure out teams, mostly because I felt underqualified. I mean, it is like unbelievable. And I think it's important that people understand, that it is not like this political shady process. I mean, what goes into picking these at-large bids? It is tedious. It takes hours and hours of people from all facets of the country coming together, looking at, my hockey rankings, looking at tournament outcomes, I couldn't believe last year, the level of detail. I was so overwhelmed. I'm like, I feel useless right now. So, it is why you are here with us on this show talking about this because of your expertise. But I just always like to reassure people, the at-large bid process is well vetted, it's well thought through, and the teams that get it, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And the teams that don't, there is nothing that any team did wrong. It's purely how the process shakes out. So I feel like that's important to call out.
Yeah, it is a tedious process. We have 4 Girls Council members. Lindsay's a Girls Council member. That's why she was invited to be on it, who have several Zoom calls and dive into all of the things. Not only the My Hockey rankings, I think, are this, people think that's what we follow. If you look at the 16U Tier 1 bracket, it's not following My Hockey rankings. If you look at how those teams are ranked out. But we look at everything, and it comes down to head-to-head of teams trying to get in. District tournament results. The process is different for Tier 1 than Tier 2, right? Tier 1 is who are the next best teams to get in the country, to get into the tournament around the country. It's not anything else than that. So we're really looking at best on best. When it comes to Tier 2, we have a list of factors that we look at. District tournament, right? So we look at all the semifinal games. And we look at who was competitive, who had close semifinal games and didn't get into that championship game, because both player teams in the championship get in at Tier 2 on the girls' side. Geography, right? We're looking across the country to see, are there any other states we can get in that fit in the competitiveness? And then also, how are you going to fit in the 2A and 1A pool?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of numbers, a lot
crazy.
of schedule digging. We have, we have a top 25 ranking that we use as well at the Tier 1 level for just another reference point, right? But none of it's end all be all. It really comes down to who we think will be the best teams to be in the tournament. And we try to get it right. Not every year we do. And, if you don't win your district tournament, you're putting it in our hands to figure it out. And we try to do our best.
So just win your district tournament, then you don't have to deal with you guys.
I don't say that to people, but it's true. You guarantee your spot if you win, right? Yeah. You're in. So
that's I've seen too many times where people let their fate be passed off to the numbers. Last year, I was on the positive side of it last year. We got into the championship all the way down to, I think, the 7th tiebreaker for the Rocky Mountain. It was wild, the math we're trying to do. But Kristen, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for your insight. I imagine you are incredibly excited for these tournaments. I certainly am. Looking forward to cheering on our Arizona girls. But just really looking forward to see all of these girls from around the country competing at all different levels, and we wish them just the absolute best.
Thanks for tuning in to the USA Hockey Next Gen podcast. Be sure to subscribe, share, and follow us for more stories that inspire the future of the game. Until next time, keep skating forward and growing the game one stride at a time.